So again, I want to remind you guys that this practice final that I've given you, it's going to be very similar to the final. So please make sure you complete it. You're going to turn it in. I'm also making videos, so please watch them on Edmodo. So here we go. Number one. By the way, we are turning this in the day of the final. It's going to count as your last 10-point quiz. So let's make sure you keep up. And number one, 1A and 1B, they give you those values: x equals 35, y equals 20, w equals 25, and z equals 2. All you got to do is plug it in. Okay, so let's plug into 1A. We have parentheses, x minus y. So parenthesis, but instead of x, we're going to put 35 minus y minus 20. And it's to the second power plus 10 times 25 times z, which is 2. So you could use calculators. 35 take away 20 is 15. And 15 squared, ladies and gentlemen, what is that? 225. 225, okay. So we really have, let me just rewrite this as 225. We have 225. And how about 10 times 25, that's 250. And 250 times 2 is 500. So yes, your final answer will be 725. So the answer to 1A is 725. You got it? Yeah. All right. So you guys could try 1B on your own, and of course I'll post answers later so you could check your answers. But I just want to give you a video to just to review on that type of question. This other one's also basic algebra. But again, and there's two of them also. We have the 2A right here, and we have the 2B over here. So we are going to use calculators. So with the calculator, you could do that. 3 times 0.7. 3 times 0.7 is 2.1, correct? Yes. With an x. And then 3 times 0.5, that's 1.5, correct? With the y. And now 17, let me zoom in a little. 17 times 0.6. What's 17 times 0.6? Help me out here with the calculator. So it's positive 10.2 with an x. And last but not least, how about 17 times 0.4? 6.8. Okay, so we have a minus 6.8, and of course it has a y on it. So now it's just a question of combining like terms, and we do have decimals. So 2.1x combined with 10.2x, that's 12.3x. And then combine the 1.5 with the minus 6.8, and that becomes minus or negative 5.3. So we have minus 5.3, and that is a y. That's your final answer right there, guys. You got it? Does it look nasty? Yeah. But is it easy? Yeah, it's easy. Right? It's not difficult. So you guys could practice with 2B. I'm moving on to the next number, 3. And on these guys, you have absolute value equations, so hopefully we remember how to do that. To solve an absolute value equation, you need to first make sure that the absolute value, this guy right here, is isolated on one side of the equal sign. As you can see, there's a 5 right there. You don't want that 5, so what do? Divide by 5. Divide by 5. So you're going to end up with the absolute value of 2s plus 5 equals 20. And now at this point, once you have it isolated, now you can do a positive situation and a negative situation. This is the way I always set it up. Pos, neg, with a squiggly line in between. Now the positive situations are going to be writing this exactly the way it is without the absolute values, right? Exactly the way it is, right? There's your absolute value. The equation rewritten without the absolute values, okay? Now for the negative situation, you're also going to write it without the absolute values, but you're supposed to flip the inequality, but it's an equal sign, and if you flip it, it still says equal. and you're supposed to change the sign of the right side over there. Okay? So let's do that. Let's rewrite it exactly the way it is, but make that a negative 20. And once again, if this were a greater than symbol, then you'd have to flip it to become a less than symbol. Or if it were less than, you'd have to flip it to become a greater than. But because it's equal, if you flip the equal sign, it still says equal. Anyway, now you have it set up. Now you could solve both. On the positive situation, subtract 5, you're going to get 2s equals 15. And then you're going to divide by 2, s equals 7.5, 7.5, 15 over 2. I'm going to go with 7.5 better. And the truth is, I don't remember exactly how they set it up on the final exam as a decimal or as an improper fraction or maybe even as a mixed fraction. But you guys need to know, you need to be able to identify the correct answer on the multiple choice. Yay? Now that's the positive situation. The negative situation, we're also going to subtract 5. You're going to get 2s equals negative 25. So when you divide by 2 and divide by 2, your final answer will be s equals negative 12.5 if you write it as a decimal. Or maybe negative 12.5 if you write it as a mixed fraction. Or maybe even just negative 25 over 2. But you need to be able to identify all those answers on your multiple choice. Easy? Yeah. All right. Now, if I might as well talk about this guy right here, 3b. If you divide by 2 and divide by 2, isolating the absolute value, you're going to have a 5s plus 5 equals what? Negative 50. Now, at this point, I have an absolute value of something equaling a negative number. Now, that's impossible. So what do I say? No solution. Or you could do that, right? No solution symbol. Moving on to number 4. Solve the inequality. So we are going to have some nasty big numbers mixed in with fractions. That's why we have the same type of thought. Oh, man, I duplicated these. I was supposed to change numbers over here to give you a different one. I apologize. Number 4, I apologize. I was supposed to make a different version over there of the same type of question. So you're only going to have this one to practice. Hopefully we're good. So what are we supposed to do right here with the 35? Distribute. Or, you know what? Yeah, you could get rid of it, actually. You want to do that? We could get rid of it. Let's just distribute. Why not? I don't know. What do you guys want to do? Or we could do both methods. Let's distribute 35 times 1/4. That's really 35 over 1 times 1 over 4. That becomes 35 over 4 with an M. And then 35 times 7, calculator time. Somebody help me out. That's 245. And then less than or equal to 17. All right, so let's subtract 245. Subtract 245. Calculator time, 17 take away 245. That's negative 2 what? 228. Okay. So we have this blue inequality right here. And what do I do now? Let's get rid of that fraction by multiplying by 4. So I really have 35m less than or equal to, what's negative 228 times 4?
Negative 912.
Negative 912?
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys are doing this on the calculator. And final step here would be to divide by 35. Divide by 35. So this is a possible answer as an improper fraction. Negative 912 divided by 35. Another one would be where you divide 912 by 35 on a calculator, which is what I just did, and it would be a mixed fraction of 26 and, let me see, 35 times 26 is 9, 10, and 2/35. So it might be a mixed. I think they're going to leave it as an improper.
Can you show us how to do it? Like if we getting rid of it on the other one?
Sure. So the question is, if we could go back and getting rid of the 35, or doing it a different way. Okay. So I know I scratched this out. I apologize. But let's get rid of the 35 by dividing by 35. That would cancel it out and divide by 35 over here. So you'd end up with a new inequality, 1/4 m plus 7 is less than or equal to 17 over 35. Now at this point you could multiply everything by 4 if you wanted to get rid of the 4. Multiply this by 4, this by 4, and this by 4. Or you could multiply this by 35, this by 35, and this by 35 to get rid of the 35. Or you could get rid of both by multiplying by the LCD, which would be on your calculator. If you go 4 times 35, you get 140. So if you multiply by 140, and multiply by 140, and multiply by 140, it'll get rid of all the fractions at the same time. So 140 over 4, that actually becomes 35. So you have 35m. 140 times 7 on a calculator here is 980. So you have plus 980. And less than or equal to, and 140 and 35 cancel out, you end up with a 4. So you have 17 times 4, because there's still a 4 up there. 17 times 4 is 68. So you really end up with, I mean, it really doesn't make it that much easier. Whatever you prefer. You should end up with the same exact answer. When you subtract 980, on this side and subtract 980 on that side, you're going to end up with 35m is less than or equal to negative 912. And notice that over here we have 35m is less than or equal to negative 912. Same exact thing as over here, so you're going to get the same exact answer. Just depends what you feel more comfortable with.